Buongiorno studenti! Have you ever said something in Italian that made native speakers laugh or give you a confused look? Non preoccuparti, è completamente normale. Don't worry, it's totally normal and you're not alone. When we start speaking in a foreign language, it's very natural and much easier to translate expressions literally from our native language. That sounds perfectly logical in our head, but oftentimes we end up saying something completely different and sometimes pretty funny too than what we meant. We Italians do this all the time when speaking English. So today I want to help you with two very common and funny Italian translation mistakes that most English speakers make. Now, these are extremely common expressions. That's why I'm teaching you them. And at the end of the video, you will be able to use them immediately in your Italian practice. As always, don't forget to let me know at the end of the video which of these expressions surprised you the most. I'm always very happy to know about your experience. Ok, iniziamo. Let's begin. Let's start with what I think is one of the funniest translation mistakes. This is very common with students when they want to say, for example, that they understood a concept. They want to say it makes sense, and they say this. Fa senso. So they're translating literally from it makes sense to fa senso. Now, the problem is that this actually means it's disgusting in Italian. So that's it. That's pretty different. And I understand that you might be asking yourself, how is that possible? Well, the reason is that the expression fare senso in Italian doesn't mean to make sense, but it means to feel, to make you feel nauseated or to disgust you. So if you say something like questo fa senso, it does look like you're saying this makes sense, but in reality that means this is disgusting. I know, it's weird, but that's how it is. So let me show you more examples of using fare senso with Italian meaning. So let me show you some phrases that show you how we use that as in it's disgusting. Because we do use this expression a lot, not with the, just not with the meaning that you may expect. So for example, if you want to say that something it's gross to you or disgusting, like say, oh God, this is disgusting, it's disgusting. We would say, oddio, that's the equivalent, oh my God, oddio, fa senso. And usually this is accompanied by a disgusted face too. So that's going to be your clue that this doesn't mean to make sense. Another example is, for example, if you want to be more specific and you want to say, this thing disgusts me. So it's disgusting for me. It's not nice. I don't like it. You, for example, let's suppose something, a food that you don't like. Per esempio, squid ink. If you want to say, oh, squid ink is disgusting to me, in Italian that would be il nero di seppia. That's how we call squid ink. We say the black of ink because it's dark, it's black. So il nero di seppia mi fa senso. I want you to notice something about the grammar structure of this sentence. Fa senso means it's disgusting. And I'm adding me because that means to me. That's an indirect pronoun. So we're saying il nero di seppia fa senso a me, to me. And we shorten that with the use of the indirect pronoun by placing the me in front of the verb. So il nero di seppia mi fa senso. Squid ink is disgusting to me. So whenever there's something that's disgusting to you, that's gross to you, you can use the expression mi fa senso or fa senso. Okay, so back to what you meant to say at the beginning, which is it makes sense, completely different. It means that something is logical, it's understandable to you. How do we say that correctly in Italian? We use the expression avere senso. So we don't use fare for this expression, we use avere. Let me show you this here. Avere senso means to make sense in Italian. And I'm going to show you a few phrases that are very common where you can use this. For example, if you want to say, this explanation makes sense, how would you say that? Questa spiegazione ha senso. So we say has sense, not makes sense. But this is the equivalent of to make sense in English. Oppure, if you want to tell someone, oh, your idea makes a lot of sense, how would you say that? La tua idea ha molto senso. So, ha molto senso. Or if you want to say that something doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense, how do you say that? You just add non. So, non ha senso. Non ha senso. Questa cosa non ha senso. I know, literal translation mistakes non hanno senso, but they happen. So let's take care of them. Okay, so just remember this. When you want to say to make sense, we literally say to have sense. So avere senso means to make sense, and fare senso means to be disgusting to you. As always, remember, I prepared a PDF with all these phrases, their translation, and the explanation for you to easily review this lesson. So don't forget to download your PDF using the link that you will find, as always, in the description of this video. Ok, andiamo avanti. Let's move on with expression number 2 that I want to teach you today. This is an expression that I find very cute when I hear that. It's funny, but it's also very cute. I don't know why, but that's the effect it has to me as an Italian native speaker. And this happens when you want to say not really in Italian. So let's take a little bit more space here. So how would you say not really in Italian? Now, your brain is probably suggesting non davvero or non veramente. Let me type that. This is how I oftentimes hear not really translated from an English native speaker to Italian. Now, this is not totally wrong, but it's very, very unnatural to Italian ears using this context. Why? Because we don't say not really like that. We typically use non davvero or non veramente only in front of an adjective or a noun. For example, if you want to say this dish is not really Italian. So notice how you're not saying just not really. You're saying not really Italian. There's an adjective after not really. In that case, we can use per esempio, non davvero o non veramente. Ad esempio, this dish is not really Italian. Questo piatto non è veramente italiano. Okay? I'm using non veramente because I'm using non è veramente plus an adjective. O per esempio, this pizza is not really gluten-free. Then we can say, let's take more space. Questa pizza non è davvero senza glutine. Okay? So we can use non davvero and non veramente as not really, but when that's followed by something else, you're not just saying not really, you're just saying not really this, not really that. In this case, you can use non davvero, non veramente. But what if you want to just say not really? Like, would you like to go to the movies? Ah, not really. You cannot, we don't really use non veramente or non davvero. What do we use in reality? We use a phrase that's in realtà no. That's what we use. So in realtà no literally means in reality not. And that's how we reply to questions when you want to just say not really. Per esempio, are you tired? Sei stanco? And you want to reply not really. In realtà no. Ok? In realtà no. Oppure Is it difficult? What you're doing, is it difficult? And you want to reply, not really. So, è difficile? In realtà, no. È difficile? In realtà, no. So that's how we really reply to questions where when you want to say not really in Italian. In realtà, no. So remember, not really when it's not followed by anything else, when it's a reply on itself, when it's a phrase on itself, we use in realtà no. You can still use non davvero or non veramente, but only when that's followed by something else. Per esempio, non davvero buono, non veramente italiano, and things like that. Okay, there you have it. These two expressions are super common in everyday conversations, both the right one and the wrong ones, but just with a different meaning than what you expected. But now you know why, if you translate them literally, they don't make sense. Non hanno senso. The key, as always, is to practice these as much as possible, so you will start thinking with Italian patterns. Okay, now it's your turn. Tocca a te. Which of these phrases surprise you the most, and which one will you use first? I love reading your comments and knowing how you're using my teachings in your Italian practice. And ci vediamo al prossimo video. See you in the next video. Ciao ciao!